Better late than never. I'm going to open the meeting of the Joint Committee on Employee Classification. And everybody should have the agenda there. And the first thing is to review and approve the minutes of the March the 10th meeting. So I don't know if anybody's moved.
Second.
Second. It's moved by Senator Rosenwald, second by Representative Schmidt. Any discussion, corrections, or anything? No? Okay. The vote is to approve the minutes. Senator Abbas?
You're absent. We need to vote.
Yeah. Just Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Representative Schmidt, and chair votes yes. So the minutes have been approved. And then the first item is concerning the Deputy Director, Division of Behavioral Health. If somebody can come up and speak to that.
We're on the air. So.
Yeah, turn the mic on.
Excellent. Good morning. I'm Lori Spring. I'm the Workforce Development Administrator for the Department of Health and Human Services.
And Nathan White, Chief Financial Officer with the Department of Health and Human Services.
This position is basically repurposing of an existing position to fill a new role within the department. The Division of Behavioral Health Services currently is the only division at HHS that does not have a deputy director position. And with various expansions, it's a role that's sorely needed to be able to attend to operational oversight and day-to-day management of the division. So this is a vacant position that we are asking for the grade of GG.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on this? And I was going to give some people an idea of what this means. Somewhere in here I've got. Okay, here it is. Just so people know what GG is, that's, these are all salary ranges, and this is a range from 79,430 up to 110,682. So I don't have anything. Any questions, comments?
Corn Ferry recommends the GG, so that's our criterion, and so it is right in line. So I'm happy to move approval of this item.
Second. All right. If there's no further discussion, we can do the vote. Senator Abbas. Yes. Senator Rosenwald. Yes. Representative Schmidt.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that's 4-0 to adopt that one. All right. Thank you. And the next one is Director of Medicaid Policy and Clinical Programs. Okay.
Yeah, this is also a Health and Human Services position. Yep. This is another new function within the department. These duties were previously performed by the Deputy Director of Medicaid Services. However, scope and population served have expanded, and so we have a need to have a dedicated position to oversee both policy and clinical programming within Medicaid. And our recommended letter grade is FF.
Okay, and, oh, here it is on the back. I was looking to see what all is under them. Okay, and again, for people's information, FF is 73,580 to 102,518. And I assume, where people fall in there depends on their experience and what it takes to hire somebody, I guess.
Yeah, our recommendation, and I believe Corn Ferry's analysis, is based on a number of factors, but it does include recommended education and experience to be successful in the role.
Right, okay. Senator Abbas.
Thank you. I understand recruitment commissions. This is going to be important. Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's my first time.
I understand recruitment has been a kind of a struggle statewide in a lot of different places. For this position particularly, I think it's going to be an important one going forward. Are you confident that you can recruit with that income bracket or that pay scale?
We do feel confident that this is an appropriate range given the requirements for the position.
Thank you.
And Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. Is this a position that you could recruit from inside the department for?
I think we could certainly potentially have internal candidates. That would always be, the optimal experience would
So
be
somebody who already knows the Medicaid program?
I mean, knowledge of Medicaid policy is a critical function in this role. So to have someone who already understands Medicaid policy in New Hampshire would be ideal.
So other than somebody who's already working for the department, what kind of other experience or background would give somebody that? So what's kind of the pool you could recruit from? I'm just curious.
I think for this particular position, again, we're looking for a depth of experience in policy generally, strategic planning. So we are looking for a candidate with a background in public administration, health administration, prior experience in health network. So that would be, I think, the primary pool. Again, ideally, we would be identifying an internal candidate that we would promote to fulfill this role.
Sure. And if you find somebody who has some experience in that and has the larger experience but doesn't know all the details of how Medicaid works in New Hampshire, are there people already in the department would be working under him who have a lot of experience with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, our state Medicaid director is extremely knowledgeable, and the core team within clinical policy, clinical programs, is strong in experience.
Okay.
I don't know if you have anything to add.
Sure. Of course, this would be an unclassified position. All unclassified positions would be posted externally as well. So it's not classified, so it doesn't go through an internal posting first. It would go external. Last year, we recently hired somebody external to the department that did have a lot of skills and experience in the Medicaid field within Medicaid, and they brought in a wealth of experience. And I think also bringing in bringing the experience from other states or national experience is really helpful for New Hampshire because they can give us alternatives to the way that we're doing things right now. So while there are definitely benefits of hiring internally, if there is indeed a qualified individual, but B, an individual who's interested in taking on an unclassified position, which is a little bit different than a classified role, that could be beneficial, but there's also benefits to having folks come from external. And as indicated earlier, we believe that at this labor grade, we would be able to attract an individual, whether it be internal or external to the state, to be successful in this role.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, I'd accept a motion. Okay, second. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to approve this request. Senator Abbas?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald? Senator Schmidt?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so that's 4-0. All right, thank you. And you're also up for the next one. This is Executive Director of the Prescription Drug Affordability Board. And so the department recommended HH, which would have been 86,502 to 125.62. And Corn Ferry said GG, which is the next one down, 79,430 to 110,682. So any comments on that or nature of the position?
Sure, and I believe, I thought Representative Merchant was going to be here to speak to this. So just to clarify, the Prescription Drug Affordability Board, I believe a legislation was passed in 2021 to establish this board. The board is administratively attached to the department, so the department does not oversee the day-to-day functions. Instead, it's administratively attached to us. They operate independently. I cannot speak to the specifics of the program. I approach things more from the financial side. I can give you all the history there if you'd like it. But I do know when I have heard Representative Merchant speak to the qualifications of a director for this type of role, that it's going to be challenging to find somebody who's qualified, because they may need to have may need to have a background within the pharmaceutical industry. They may need to have a background in law as well, which is why we had originally come forward with a higher request than what Korn Ferry had recommended, just because we do anticipate finding, or the board, the Prescription Drug Affordability Board, anticipates a difficult time finding a qualified individual to run the functions of that board.
Okay. So there hasn't been anybody in this position to date.
No, this is a brand new position. The budget currently includes funding for this position as it currently stands. With the Senate, this would be brand new.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I'm a member of this board. So, I do know that it took the state of Maryland about 18 months to hire someone. It's kind of a specialized field, but I hesitate to go against Korn Ferry because I think they seem to somehow know what they're doing. So
Yeah,
if
I
they
think they-
recommend GG,
Did you have a comment, Representative Schmidt?
Well, of course, Representative Merchant, the chair, is a former member of EDNA, as the chair and I are. He's been before us in committee on this issue, and this is a vital position. That's one of the reasons, as Senator Rosenwald undoubtedly knows well, one of the reasons that Prescription Drug Affordability Board is not as functional as it needs to be. You know, when I have this person, and this is still a very substantial salary, but I see the commissioner coming up to give us some additional guidance.
Yeah, I'm actually fairly familiar with this thing, and in full disclosure, although it won't affect my decision here, I have made attempts to abolish the board. But I've had an amendment I tried to get through, not this year, but Senator Abbas.
Thank you. What attempts have been made to actually recruit someone for this position? Is it being posted?
My understanding is that it can't be posted because no salary has been set. And that's the process you're undergoing now. I would say that, and I don't know exactly what the board's going to do. And I understand the position. They are looking for something of a unicorn. It'd be great to find a lawyer who's also a pharmacist, I think would be ideal, right? And that's unlikely. I wanted to talk a little bit about Korn Ferry and what they do and how that process works for members of the committee who aren't. So Korn Ferry examines positions by content. They don't make any effort to determine whether the salary is an appropriate salary for recruitment. They do no market analysis at all. In fact, it's part of what they do is they don't do market analysis. They make no effort on that. All the unclassified positions in the state are placed into a grid based on their complexity versus all the other state positions. And whether we pay those positions, 30% more, 20% less, or whatever, all you know is that GGs are similarly complex. The committee has in the past periodically made adjustments to salaries based on issues like recruitment. For example, the medical examiners historically are not a very complicated, nobody wants to do it, but it's not as complicated as some jobs, so their salary came in probably at like GG or something, and they make more than anybody else in state government. They make like double what the governor makes or something like that. And so the committee does that. And so typically what committees have done in the past is look at it and say, okay, Korn Ferry has said based on complexity points, GG is about where they are. It would be unusual for the committee to deviate from that by more than a letter grade, but it would not be unusual for the committee to deviate from that by a letter grade. Historically, people have looked at it and said, well, you know what, this position is going to be harder to recruit financially for reasons that are legitimate, not just that, because frankly, all of us can sit up here at some point and go, well, we're having a really hard time hiring, frankly, everything, right, from building cleaners to engineers. And But in this case, what committee has historically done is looked at it and said, are there things about this position that make it particularly, I don't want to say weird, what's the word I'm looking for? Unusual or anomalous. And that's something you would look at. And I say that to say that even Corn Ferry would tell you they're not meant to be biblical in their authority.
Representative Schmidt.
Was it not the case with the medical examiner that, we all looked at the situation and we didn't get anybody? So we went higher because we needed somebody in that position, and when we went higher, we got somebody.
Yeah, my understanding is there is somebody doing that, and he makes a lot of money.
Actually, the salary range for that is, well, there is no range, it's one amount, and it's 176,696.
Yeah, that's one of the off-the-grid positions, so to speak. I say that not because I'm not on the affordability board. I've talked to Representative Merchant, I don't know, but my understanding is they are looking for a bit of a unicorn. It's going to be very hard to recruit.
Any other comments? Senator Abbas?
Thank you. It's more of a general question, but if the Corn Ferry Hay recommendation, sounds like their analysis can be flawed depending on the context it's in, why are we going to rely on their recommendations going forward?
It's a good question. Their analysis isn't flawed as much as it's limited. Their classification is a complicated thing in employee classification generally, and and there are multiple ways to do it. The truth is that most people, and most of it in America dates back a little over 100 years to the Philadelphia Transit Company, but there are ways to do it. The most important way to do any classification is based on job content. And that is to say that, markets fluctuate up and down and we can look at things. But when you're doing a system where you're taking hundreds or thousands of employees and trying to align them all against each other. I mean, think of it, if you've got a smallish business and there's 5 people working for you, you can be like, yeah, I'll give you 10% this year. And Senator, you'll get 8. Or I could reverse that if one of you is offended. But but you sort of go along that way, and what we've hired them for, and frankly, it's what the Division of Personnel does for the classified system, is to examine job content. And so they're coming to you with that. And 9 times out of 10, or 95 times out of 100, job content is going to get you the employee to the place where they are neither harder or easier to recruit than average, right? when during recession, no state positions are very hard to recruit. During good economic times, all state positions are hard to recruit. It's sort of a truism of the way the labor market works. But there are always going to be one-offs, and so what they're hired to do is to do a non-economic evaluation.
So I think, and here's my take on it, and correct me if this is not correct. There's sort of 2 aspects to this. One is how does the difficulty, complexity, level of experience, and everything needed for this job compared to other jobs in the state? And having that lined up, for one thing, would avoid issues where 2 people who are doing kind of more or less the same thing are paid wildly differently, which could cause problems. But, so they help with that. But for each classification, how much they're going to get paid or the salary range is basically up to the legislature. You can request it. Now, is it this committee that would propose adjusting those numbers, the actual dollar amount, or what would be the process of that? I'm not suggesting that now, but to understand.
When you say adjusting the actual dollar amount,
on the salary range for each grade, how does that get set?
that gets set by statute, and so typically that gets set during collective, when collective bargaining happens. There's a bill that follows it.
Okay.
This year it happens to be in House Bill 2, where salaries are adjusted as a result of that. Unclassified are not part of collective bargaining, but typically that it's extended to collective bargaining. So, for example, this year the bill has that these ranges will also go up by 10% or 2% or in the second year or whatever.
Okay. Senator Rosenwald.
So Does that mean that if we were to stick with the
And I want to speak to you. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna be the acting clerk, place of representative. Yeah, okay. Pam said she didn't hear. Oh, okay. We might plug in. Time being 9:31, we will open up our May 18th meeting of Long Range Capital Planning and Utilization Committee. To the members in the audience, I want to welcome you to Public Works and Highways. The first item on our agenda is the acceptance of minutes from April 21st, 2023. As distributed, are there questions, comments, omissions?
Move to approve?
Motion by Senator Lang to approve, second by Senator D'Alessandro. My informality catches up with me at times, and I have to think of Senator's last name, so thank you. So that's old business. There is none. We will move on to,
I think you need a vote.
oh, I'm sorry. If you're in favor of the motion to accept the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. There are none. Passes unanimously. We will move on to item 23015, Department of Transportation. Request authorization to sell an easement over state-owned land on the southerly side of the Harris Pond Road in the town of Merrimack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Labonte. I'm the Administrator of the Bureau of Right-of-Way with the Department of Transportation. The department requests authorization to sell an easement over state-owned land on the southerly side of Harris Pond Road in the town of Merrimack. The sale will be direct to the Lansing Melbourne Group for $6,100, which includes the $1,100 administrative fee. The sewer easement will be a means of connecting an existing sewer line located on the parcel identified in the town's tax records as map 1E lot 3 to a proposed building located on parcel identified as map 1D lot 1-6 as depicted on the plan that's in your packet. The sewer easement will be approximately 150 feet long by 20 feet wide and will be for the installation of an 8-inch gravity sewer line. The underlying parcel was acquired in 1988 for the Nashua-Hudson Circumferential Highway Project. The department acquired 19.16 acres of land from Harris Pond Development Corporation by eminent domain. The matter was later settled for $7,613,300. This easement will be conveyed with the following conditions. The grantee will be required to commission a licensed land surveyor in the state of New Hampshire to survey and prepare a plan depicting the easement's location. The grantee will also be responsible to obtain all local and state land use approvals precedent to the closing. Right-of-way appraiser from the department prepared contributory value appraisal using sales comparison approach and opined that the value as of April 25th, 2003 was $5,000. That with the administrative fee brings us to $6,100.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Lamonte? Seeing none, is there a?
Move the item.
Move to approve 2315?
Thank you. Motion to move is by Senator Lang, seconded by Lou D'Alessandro. Any further discussion? If you're in favor of the approval of 23-015, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. So if we could move now to 23-016, Department of Transportation authorization, grant access point through limited right-of-way on Route 4 at Old Bruce Road. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The department requests authorization to grant an access point through the limited access right-of-way on New Hampshire Route 4 at Boyce Road in the city of Concord to Robert and Mary Ann Wolf for $44,100, which includes the $1,100 administrative fee. The city of Concord developed plans to upgrade the intersection of Old Boyce Road and New Hampshire Route 4 and Whitney Road by constructing a roundabout. With the limited frontage of their parcel on Old Boyce Road and the limited access right-of-way boundary across that frontage, the parcel will be landlocked without granting this access point. The department acquired the abutting 12 acres of land from Richard and Edna Sanborn in 1958 for $13,520 via warranty deed. The land acquired was improved with a 4-room house which was sold via public auction and subsequently removed. This access point will be conveyed with the following conditions. Grantee shall be required to apply for a driveway permit through the department's District 5 office and shall follow the department's driveway permit policy. Grantee shall be responsible for all local and state land use approvals. A staff appraiser from the department opined that the contributory value to the Wolf's property as of October 7th, 2022 was $43,000.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Move to approve 2316?
Motion made by Lang, seconded by D'Alessandro for the approval of item 23-016. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you're in favor of the motion, you'll signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, motion passes accepted unanimously. And we will move to item 23-017, authorization to grant 1530 square feet of maintenance easement, state-owned land, limited access right-of-way located I-95, exit 1, town of Seabrook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you just mentioned, the department requests authorization to grant a 1,530 square foot maintenance easement on state-owned land within the limited access right-of-way located on the easterly side of New Hampshire, I-95, exit 1 northbound ramp, and the southerly side of the New Hampshire Route 107, US Route 1 in the town of Seabrook. The easement will be granted to BJ's Wholesale Club Incorporated for $2,300, which includes the $1,100 administrative fee. The department acquired the property in the area of the easement in 1967 for the Interstate Route 95, New Hampshire Route 107 construction project. The parcel will be conveyed with the following condition: that the buyer will be required to commission a land surveyor licensed in the state of New Hampshire to survey and prepare a plan depicting the easement. A staff appraiser from the department opined that the contributory value to the abutting property as of March 3rd, 2023 was $1,200.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to approve 2317?
Senator Lang moves to approve item 23-017, seconded by Senator Pearl. Nice to have you. Any further discussion? If you're in favor of the motion to approve 23017, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, nay. Seeing no nays, passes unanimously. We will move on to 23019, disposal of real estate, Department of Environmental Services. Request authorization to sell its York Dam and Canal Dam on the Catachusik River in Concord. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Corey Clark. I'm the Chief Engineer at the Dam Bureau at DES.
Morning, everyone. Mark Sanborn, Assistant Commissioner at DES.
Thank you. And Mr. Clark, this is a new position for you?
Yes, it is. I took over for Jim Gallagher in December, or he retired in December of last year, and I recently took over.
He was a wonderful asset for our state. Did a lot of work in my region, and we're looking forward to working with you. Please,
Excellent. Same here.
if you could present your proposal here.
Sure. So New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services is looking to dispose of the York Dam and associated structures, easements, and flowage easements to Briar Hydro Associates. The site is made up of 4 structures and 5 easements. We have the York Canal Dam, which is on the main stem of the Kentucky River in Concord, in Pennacook. And then we have the Canal Dike, which is a historic structure on basically an old canal that was used during for mill purposes. The Rolfe Canal Gates Dam, which is at the entrance of the current canal that's used by Briar Hydro Associates to allow water to flow down to their hydroelectric facility. And then also an easement along that canal for what was at one time called the Ralph Canal Dam that was removed in 1980. These structures and easements were transferred to the state in 1967 by the city of Concord. And the Water Resources Board rebuilt the York Dam, which is the dam on the main stem, using their force account, in 1968. The site was redeveloped by Briar Hydro Associates in 1986, and at that point in time, a lease was entered, a 50-year lease with Briar Hydro Associates for operation and maintenance of the site. At that time, Briar Hydro Associates also built the Rolfe Canal Gates Dam on the state of New Hampshire easement at the entrance to the canal. And since that time, Briar Hydro has been operating the site as a hydroelectric facility. Briar Hydro would like to purchase the sites and transfer the easements to them for $600,000. And the site was assessed in 2020 by the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration Municipal and Property Appraisal Division. And they came out with the $600,000 estimate. And basically, the reason we're doing this is we currently, as you know, we lease the site to Briar Hydro Associates. We do receive revenue from that lease. However, by disposing of the site and selling it to Briar Hydro, it reduces the state's liability for this site and removes one of 60 high hazard dams off our current inventory, so we can help reduce the state's risk and liability associated with the site.
So, and I'll just like to add, that's, it's funny you mentioned Jim, Corey taking over for Jim. We actually have used this as an opportunity to kind of reevaluate our portfolio, the 275 dams we own, and the amount of capital needs and the ongoing operation and maintenance it would require. And this sale is very consistent with our goal is to drastically reduce the amount of dams the state owns. If there isn't a safety or another state policy mitigating reason to own a dam, where we're gonna be over the next couple of years looking for options and other opportunities to find other owners of these dams, find other options for these dams, because right now we have 275 dams, $440 million of capital needs, and that doesn't even count ongoing O&M. So this is very consistent with how we would like to start moving forward with our overall portfolio.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the condition of our dams is not up to par. what is the condition of this site as we speak?
This site is actually in pretty good shape. It's been basically all the O&M costs and maintenance costs and capital input into the site has been done by Briar as required under their FERC license that they have for this entire site and the lease. So this site is in fairly good shape, and I believe Briar is planning on continuing to operate the site as they currently do.
And just really quickly, to follow up on that, that's an example of why we want to move to this model. This is a dam currently being leased that has value to a private operator and has been doing the work and putting the money in to maintain it. And that's like what we'd like to see for these future find owners of these dams that where there's a value to them and they can take on the maintenance and capital investment needed, which has happened in this site, and it's just a good time to fully move ownership over.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
set.
Chairman.
Senator Lang.
I'll wait after they answer my question.
Okay, it would appear shortly you're going to be flush with money in this department, so I just want to tell you that the Mill Pond Dam owned by the town of Ospey, which was topped over, that I heard about issues that perhaps town of Ospey could sell you back one for $1 if you wanted to.
That is inconsistent with our current strategy, Mr. Chairman.
But
We will
but-
take that under advisement.
But I just want to mention that I was told that it was someone from your department is going up to Ospey the next couple days to look at that.
Yes,
that
that's correct. Yeah,
project, and-
it was recently inspected back in September, and so they're going to be heading back up there to see if anything changed during these flooding events that we had over the past 6 months.
And I know it's not your department's issue, but I'd like to be informed what you do find out about that.
Sure.
If you could.
Yep.
Thank you. So any further questions?
Move to approve 2319.
Moved by Senator Lang to approve 23019,
Second.
seconded by Senator Delisandro. Seeing no further discussion, if you're in favor of the approval of 23019, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We will move to Department of Transportation, 23018, requests to extend the current lease approximately 1,000 square foot of state-owned Manchester and Lawrence Railroad Corridor, City of Manchester, under a 10-year lease. Good morning, Lou. Just press on the big button. There we go.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman and committee members, for this opportunity. I'm Louis Barker from the Department of Transportation's Bureau of Rail and Transit. I'm here to request authorization to extend a current lease with the Outfront Media for a site in Manchester for a large billboard. It was originally 10 years, and we would like to add 5 years to this lease as the lessee has a significant investment, and they need to, pardon me for forgetting the term, but it's based on the return on investment. In addition to the request for the time, I took a look at the CPI and went to our Bureau of Right-of-Way for concurrence, and we feel that it's appropriate to request an increase to the annual base rent to $28,500. I also have members from Outfront Media if you have questions. I submit this request. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Questions? For seeing none,
Move to approve 2318.
Senator Lang moves to approve item 23018, seconded by Senator Pearl. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you're in favor of the motion to accept 23018, Department of Transportation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any
Thank you.
opposed? There was none. Unanimous. Thank you. We have for information here, item 2320, New Hampshire Council on Resources and Development, surplus land review. And we also have item 21, which is New Hampshire Council on Resources and Development, minutes of the March 9th meeting, Council of Resources and Development. Any discussion on those? I had a chance to look at a date for our next meeting, and I'm going to offer that we would meet on September 15th, which is a Friday. So perhaps we can put that in as a date, and then if the senators or we at the House have an issue, we, Representative Cloutier.
Excuse me, yeah, would that be what time on Friday, September?
I'd like 9 o'clock if that seems to work for.
That's fine with me.
I've never had such a great opportunity of senators here, so we'll stick with that. And I just want to thank Representative Cloutier for filling in for clerk today, and I'm always very appreciative when you step up for that role. So I thank you, sir, for that. With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Delisandro motions to adjourn, seconded by Lang. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have concluded our business. Thank you. I meant to ask Cannon where we are with that foolish tram.
Well, is that in the budget?
It's on,
Or did it go in capital budget? I'm not sure. if
it
it was
didn't go to